Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King. That is Reezy, and obviously Bienvenidos, and I welcome you here to the horror show for what is the 6th season here of Hail to Stephen King, celebrating everything El Rey, Sai King, and yes, obviously my favorite author if you were just happening to stumble upon this video, because I typically don't like to do what I consider clickbaity titles, but I was just so overcome with disappointment that I had to actually relegate an episode that was supposed to be for today to probably sometime next month in September. You know, Sai King's birthday month, yours truly's birthday month. So yes, that will be making its appearance at a later time, but I just really was just so bummed out when basically, long story short, although obviously I'm going to be long-winded as I always am in these particular videos, but Salem's Lot is one of my absolute favorite Sai King stories. It's not top 3, I mean there is the unholy trinity, as I have often said in the 300 plus episodes of this program, in all of the duration that I've been doing it, that would be Pet Sematary, The Stand, and It. So those will forever be my 3 favorites, but then as we veer into the top 5, Salem's Lot, man, as you can tell by this beautiful edition from Cemetery Dance that I have. They've been doing these kick-ass re-releases of the Doubleday years, as they like to call them. But, and obviously I have the original up there as well. The illustrated edition kicks ass and has some interesting missing bits from the story and, you know, just like deletes from the manuscript initially and stuff like that. So it's a much more affordable purchase being the illustrated edition in comparison with that CD release down there. But in my top 5 for sure. It's probably number 5 because I would put in Wastelands or Wizard and Glass, one of those 2 Dark Tower entries as my number 4, but nonetheless, I love Salem's Lot, and I have a soft spot for the Tobe Hooper 1979 miniseries. The original book was released in 1975, and then you have the Larry Cohen, which I covered in Films That Forgot the Face of Their Father, so that was where I was basically doing all of the sequels to Sai King stuff, so not based on any actual King material, so I did Return to Salem's Lot, which is Larry Cohen who did the stuff, and Cue the Winged Serpent, and he's a very satirical sort of director, and I dug, honestly, what he did with Return to Salem's Lot. I was a little less enthused with Mary Lambert's Pet Sematary 2, and then with Sometimes They Come Back sequels and all that other crap. So if you're interested in seeing any of those, they are in the Stephen King themed playlist that we have here on the horror show. But nonetheless, I don't love the 2004 with Rob Lowe, but I mean, there's some interesting aspects to it. I like Rutger Hauer, but yeah, they veered into like this weird white trash like sublet sort of thing with, you know, the mom and all that crap. But and then there's also, as many people might not know, a 1995 BBC radio drama, and then you've also got the Chapelwaite show with Adrian Brody. Homeboy's name is eluding me for a moment. So that's on Epix, which nobody subscribes to, but the show kicked ass in an adaptation of Jerusalem's Lot, and yeah, got renewed for a 2nd season, which is pretty dope. So yes, as far as Sai King properties go, Salem's Lot, I would contend, is up there with The Shining and with Carrie and with, you know, the aforementioned unholy trinity of It and Pet Sematary and The Stand and stuff, as far as it's had so many different offshoots and like side stories. Even One for the Road has been made into a number of dollar babies, and shout out to Barker Street Cinema, who just got done doing the 2nd installment of the Stephen King Rules Festival. Sadly, you can't go back and rewatch that live stream because I was posting about it last weekend when it was happening, and yeah, due to rights issues and stuff, the fact that those dollar babies are supposed to be specifically relegated to the festival circuit, so that's why they can't be uploaded onto YouTube or anything like that. So the live situation that Stephen King Rules Festival Part 2 got to do was just over the course of the live stream, and so I'm sure if you start hunting on Reddit, you may find somebody who bootlegged it or whatever, but they have started to actually put up a lot of the interviews that they did. So they had KingCast on there. I know a lot of peeps are big fans of those 2 dudes, and they've got a great list of peeps behind them because of Fangoria. So, you know, much love to those guys. And so, yeah, King Casp was on there. Mark Bernardin from Fat Man Beyond, a buddy of Kevin Smith, my favorite director, or one of my favorite directors, you know. He can't touch Jimmy Cameron in my estimation. But, yeah, and then they also had, like, Lou Ferrigno and various others. So all of those interviews are at least being put up on the Barker Street Cinema YouTube page. So I urge everybody to go and check those out. But, so, yeah, man, as far as Dollar Babies go, the one for the road, I mean, the one that was done with, oh boy, homie from Phantasm. God, I just absolutely love that one. It's tough to track down. It was done by a Irish filmmaker, if I'm not mistaken. But so, yeah, back to the actual task at hand. Salem's Lot has been adapted and has had all of these different intriguing offshoots and stuff like that. So it's no surprise that in 2019 it was announced that Atomic Monster, which is James Wan's company actually, so he's still a very prolific director. I wasn't the biggest fan of his most recent one that so many peeps loved earlier this year. I'm not even going to open up that can of worms. If you want to see our review, it's here on the channel. But nonetheless, yeah, Wan is a juggernaut when it comes to horror, and not just from a directorial standpoint, because, you know, Saw and boy, I even really like Dead Silence, the one with the dummy. But in any event, and he's gone on to bigger stuff. He's done the 2 Aquaman movies. Second one was just delayed again. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So his Atomic Monster has produced a ton of stuff, and yeah, I mean, the whole Conjuring verse was basically, you know, courtesy of him. And one of his proteges, Gary Dauberman, is the guy who was tapped to write and direct a remake for the first time in a theatrical setting. Because the original miniseries, I can't remember if it was CBS or ABC, I know it was one of the major networks back in '79, the one Tobe Hooper did, and then TNT were responsible for the Rob Lowe remake, but this is the first time that we were going to see it theatrically. And so very similar to when Gary Dauberman was, from a writing standpoint, he stepped in for It and then also for It Chapter 2. And you see, I felt like in that situation, he wasn't too bad because of the fact that, you know, he was just basically jumping off of existing source material, so to speak. Now, granted, with the first It 2017 that Muschietti did, he was basically reworking the Cary Fukunaga script. And so that is, I think, why some people didn't like Chapter 2 as much, but I actually really enjoyed the 2019 second installment. But neither here nor there. I did not like his first directing outing, which was Annabelle Comes Home. It was the first, well, actually, no, it wasn't. It was basically like The Conjuring 3 without being The Conjuring 3. So it's interesting how James Wan has kind of like handed off the reins for the franchise. He did such a great job with. The first Conjuring was really good, and then the second one I thought was even better. But they built this whole universe, and Gary Dauberman has been instrumental in a lot of it. So he wrote The Nun, and he wrote Annabelle Comes Home, and I think he actually wrote Annabelle Creation too, which I personally really liked. But I was not super enthused when I heard that he was going to be writing and directing a Salem's Lot remake. But hey, I was still intrigued. I was trying to temper any expectations, both positive or negative. I was trying to go in with an open mind. But with the source material being so near and dear to my heart, yeah, I was probably going to go in with, you know, sort of a slant and sort of a, I don't know, judgmental sort of mindset. But I was excited when I heard, first and foremost, that they had announced Louis Pullman, the son of Bill Pullman, yes, El Presidente from Independence Day, and While You Were Sleeping. I don't know why I suddenly think of that, the rom-com that he did with Sandra Bullock that I really enjoyed. But hey, Louis Pullman, it's another one of those situations similar to El Rey's kid Joe Hill, where the apple hasn't fallen particularly far from the tree. I think Louis Pullman is a very talented actor. He was in Strangers Pray at Night, and most notably, the performance of his that I often think of is from Bad Times at the El Royale, where he was like the concierge slash like, you know, front desk dude, and when you find out about his backstory and the Vietnam aspects and why he's got the drug problem and everything, he's a minor character in that, but he really shone in his particular segment that showcased what had happened to him and how he ended up in this weird casino hotel sort of place that's like right on the border of Nevada and California. If y'all have never seen Bad Times at the El Royale, it is, I believe Drew Goddard did it, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, man, it is the best love letter to Tarantino it's like that I've ever seen. It's so damn good, and you've got Thor in there as a cult leader, man. I mean, yeah, he does a great job. Anyway, so Louis Pullman, and lots of people also saw him just recently this past summer in the biggest movie of the year, Top Gun Maverick. He was the nerdy, like kind of tech-centric dude. He was the co-pilot, so not another large role there, but I believe that he has leading man chops, not just based on the fact that Bill Pullman is his father and he has those good acting genes in him, but yeah, I could see him as Ben Mears, legit. Everybody else, I know the dude playing Straker is from Game of Thrones from what I was reading, but yeah, none of the others with the exception of Will Sadler, who I adore, man. I mean, William Sadler was on some of my favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes. He was Death in the second and third Bill and Ted film. He was also our hero of sorts in another Tales from the Crypt property, Demon Knight. Him and Jada Pinkett were like two of the most important peeps in that film. So, yeah, man, everybody thinks he's Barlow, but they've been very secretive about it. But unfortunately, this film was supposed to be released in September 9th. So we were supposed to be like less than 2 weeks away from seeing this film, and yet it was initially delayed from September 9th up to, I believe, April 21st, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason for this video is because of the fact that now it's been pulled entirely from the release schedule. So it still lists on the IMDb that it's coming out April 21st, but that is not the case. That is, it has been indefinitely taken off of the release schedule. Now, the intriguing aspect and the probably disappointing aspect about this too is that there was this recent major upheaval at Warner Brothers, who are the ones who are releasing this. So New Line Cinema, who are the ones who are putting it out, they are owned by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is in the midst of this merger with Discovery. And so Discovery Channel, they have all of these other arms under them, I think they've got some cooking channels and True TV and all this different crap. So Discovery is a much more monumental monster of media than I particularly realized, and so they're in the midst of merging to form Warner Brothers Discovery, and so there's changes coming to HBO Max and various other streaming services that are under them, so to speak. And one of the biggest bits is that apparently this new CEO, I think is the proper term, I forget the dude's name, but he is apparently he's a former lawyer and he's helped develop all kinds of different television channels before, most notably NBC when they were trying to just branch off into the cable side of things and have all of these other news channels like CNBC and various other things. So he's pretty cutthroat from what I understand, and so much so that when he took over, he immediately did all of these sweeping changes. One of the most infamous currently that happened recently is the fact that this Batgirl movie that Michael Keaton was going to appear in, J.K. Simmons, it was very much going to lean into that Elseworlds multiversey, the Crisis in Infinite Worlds. So everybody is doing the multiverse thing currently, and Batgirl was going to lean into that with Keaton coming back as the 1989 Batman. I know he's doing the same thing for the Flash film, but that movie was presumably finished, or at least fairly finished. Reshoots are very commonplace at this particular point, but it was apparently shown to some test audiences. It garnered lukewarm results, but then again, I heard the same thing about the Shazam sequel, so I don't know. But bottom line, that movie was apparently completely canceled, and they're saying, oh, we're just going to write it off for tax purposes. And so I really, even if it's bad, I wanted to see it just for Keaton alone, because I love 89 and I love Batman Returns in 92. And just the excitement of getting to see him back in the cowl and just playing Bruce Wayne again, I was really pumped for. They had some, you had I know Leslie, God, is it Leslie Jones? God damn it, I'm probably butchering the name. I know Brendan Fraser was playing the villain, so he's had this career resurgence with Doom Patrol, which is really cool. So, I don't know, I was really stoked about that movie, but apparently what the CEO his explanation was, he's like, we actually don't want to be dumping stuff onto HBO Max or putting theatrical quality stuff onto a streaming service. And so when you think about the previous Warner Brothers regime during the pandemic, the big thing for them was that they're like, we're going to do this dual day release. And I know Peacock is doing it with the Halloween Ends movie. So there's other streamers attached, with these studios. With the case of Peacock, they're in affiliation with Universal. But during the pandemic, the big, very, in some ways, controversial decision that the previous Warner Brothers regime decided to do was that they were going to have stuff hitting on HBO Max at the same day that it was hitting theaters. And Denis, the director of Dune, was pissed as fuck about this, and I know there were various other big-time theatrical filmmakers who took major, they were averse to this, man. They were not into it. They took big-time exception with that decision, but I mean, they were it was a unique situation. So that's why I kind of understand the decision behind it, but yet they have said that going forward, that is not going to be the case. And especially with this new guy from the Discovery side of things, who's now in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery as they merge together, he's like, we don't want to put out sub-quality stuff. We don't want to focus on the streaming side of things. We want to put out good movies theatrically. And that's apparently why The Flash is still moving forward despite Ezra's insane behavior, because of the fact that it's apparently a really damn good movie. And speaking of the It connection, Andy Muschietti actually directed this Flash movie that has gone through all kinds of reshoots and all kinds of craziness and apparently cost over $200 million friggin' dollars. Craziness. But they're apparently forging forward with that one because of the fact that it's been deemed good. And so you can probably see what I'm circling around towards is that if this new regime is taking iconic properties like Batgirl away and they're not going to put it out theatrically, they're not even going to put it out on HBO Max, it makes me worry about the fate of this film, because they said they're only going to put out good stuff in theaters, right? And all of the controversy about the Batgirl situation, and there was a sequel to the animated Scoob that was supposed to be coming out, and they've been making all these sweeping deletions of everything from tons of animated fare has been the biggest victim because they don't want to be as kid-centric for whatever reason on the HBO Max streamer. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. But yeah, so I just worry about the fate of this film if it is indefinitely taken off of the schedule. And the question that I'm going to pose to everybody, I guess at this point, if you're watching this video, as long-winded as I've been about it, is, are we actually going to see this Salem's Lot movie, or could it potentially be another victim of this, hey, we don't think it's very good, so we're just going to say, cut it out, peace, like maybe not even dump it on HBO Max, which I still think, with the iconicness of Sai King, is probably the most likely sort of situation, you know, but I mean, really, aside from it, and to a lesser degree, It Chapter 2, has anything besides that really been like a big hit for King in the last like 20 plus years? I mean, there's been quality stuff that's been put out. You know, 1922 was great, Gerald's Game was exceptional, but yet even Dr. Sleep, Flanagan's film, which was terrific, by the way, and somehow merged, you know, the Kubrick and the King source material, that kind of bombed at the box office, you know, and obviously we know the travesty that was The Dark Tower, and also, like, the Dark Tower television series that was supposed to be coming to Amazon, and they're like, nah, we're going to focus on Rings of Power, and we're going to focus on Wheel of Time instead. We've got enough fantasy in our camp. And so they filmed that elusive pilot that I still have not been able to track down. If anybody knows a way for me to see that, goddammit, I've reached out to various peeps and it's been a difficult process. But yeah, aside from it and its sequel, has anything else really been that successful on, I mean, once again, there's quality stuff that's been done on television, Chapelwaite most notably, the Mr. Mercedes show, but once again, that, you know, until it migrated over to Peacock, everybody was like, the AT&T Audience Network, the ferg is that, you know? And Castle Rock getting canceled after just a couple seasons. So they've really been swinging for the fences with the King stuff, and it's still, like, everything still gets optioned almost immediately upon release, or even before release. Like, remember when Billy Summers was coming out and Later was coming out, and they were like, right around the time they were released, or shortly before, shortly thereafter, I can't recall specifics, but they were already optioned, you know? But then again, as I clarify all the time, and I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee here, guys. Probably tell how caffeinated I am today. So much stuff gets optioned and then doesn't actually materialize. Remember when The Institute was getting released and it was immediately supposedly being turned into a television series? I think it was going to be on AMC. Same with Sleeping Beauties. So, like, in the entire 6 years that I've been doing this show at this particular point, I feel like anytime a new King property is arriving, you know, in the written form, obviously, it's already locked up by somebody. Like, even that, so we just found out today, as of this filming, that October 5th, we're going to see Mr. Harrigan's Phone, the first adaptation of the 4 from his most recent novella collection, and yet Rat was also optioned by, you know, Ben Stiller, and then I know David Fincher's company was apparently doing Life of Chuck, and but yet Harrigan's Phone is like, that is really the only, like, concrete release date that we have right now. I mean, yeah, The Long Walk is supposedly being done by Baby Driver dude, his name is eluding me, goddammit. In any event, Edgar Wright. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff supposedly in development that is in some sort of pre-production process, or at least has been optioned. But, I mean, aside from Harrigan's Phone being a confirmed October 5th on Netflix, and Jaden Martell, who was Big Bill in the recent 2017 and 2019 It, so he was our young version of Big Bill. But yeah, Donald Pleasance as Harrigan himself. I'm actually very intrigued about that. But aside from that confirmed release, everything else is in this sort of development limbo. And, back to Salem's Lot, shout out to Matty Jorison, who is one of the, he's an industry dude, and so, a great animator. And so he has, he always tips me into bits of insight that I might not necessarily be a privy to. And he was like, yo, I heard that the Warner execs were not happy with the finished product of this, similar to the Batgirl situation, like I was just saying. And so they did major reshoots, and everybody thinks William Sadler, is playing Barlow, but yet he's listed on the IMDb and on the Wikipedia and various other spots, but they don't confirm who he is. And I'm like, who else would he be playing? Some whatever mystery person, But I don't know if they did test screenings specifically, but apparently, what they were ready to release on September 9th was not satisfactory to these peeps, and that's why it was initially delayed until April, and then, once again, taken off the schedule entirely. So, if I'm gonna, my gut still tells me even if they forego theatrical, they might just dump it on HBO Max, but after the fate of Batgirl and some of these other big sweeping changes, and the staunch statements from this new guy from the Discovery side of things who's running the show, I'm kind of 50-50 about the fate of this film, and in some ways, if we're ever actually going to see it. Now, as much as I was praising Lewis Pullman, maybe he isn't leading man material. Maybe he just wasn't able to carry it as Ben Mears anywhere near as good as, we just had the birthday of our Ben Mears, the actor's name eludes me, from the 1979 version. I thought he was really good. And I didn't even think Rob Lowe was that bad. That was such a shame with that 2014 T-series, because, they had such great casting. I didn't like the little flip switch thing that they did with Father Callahan and that, but hey, it is what it is. But that film had some serious star power behind it, and yeah, what a missed opportunity, unfortunately. So, and I know Burke is being played by, Bill Camp, and, I've seen him in so many things. He's really the only other face that I recognized when I was looking at, the list of people who were in this now they're listing it as 2023 Salem's Lot, but I don't know. Are we ever actually going to see this movie? I think it's a coin flip at this particular point. I'm not certain it's going to be seen theatrically, and I'm not even, like I said, I'm 50-50 if it's even going to end up on HBO Max. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have any sense of excitement about this? Do you understand my derision, my apprehension, and the fact that I'm trying to be optimistic about this, but it's very much like a glass, I don't know, half full, half empty. I don't know, man. I'm being a realist, You hope for the best, you plan for the worst, end up somewhere in the middle. And that's kind of the way that I'm feeling about this installment of Salem's Lot. And I just want to see it, man. Anytime a new King interpretation, a new just take on the source material, there's nothing that is going to take away this amazing book from us that is really, in my estimation, where King solidified himself as a great American storyteller. Because yes, he had the interesting structure aspect with Carrie, and he proved that he could scare with all of those short stories that came out before his first published novel, the stuff collected in Night Shift. But I think Salem's Lot, with all of the intrigue of that town, of Jerusalem's Lot, and the intertwinements and the secrets and this larger cast of characters, that's where I think King really, he just cemented himself as somebody who could do that juggling act of having a large cast and that just kind of developing even the major and the minor characters in an intriguing fashion. And it's something he went back to countless times, whether it was Derry, whether it was Chester's Mill, with Under the Dome. Yeah, he's proven time in and time out that he can really develop and yet not have each person be at the forefront. They all kind of play a part and have their purpose. And I don't know. I really want to see this, even if it sucks. I really want to see it, And yeah, I don't know. Who's excited? Who's skeptical? Who thinks that if we're going to go worst case scenario, that we're not even going to see this? So I extend a grande gracias for anybody who just sat around and listened to my musings about the fate of this new Salem's Lot, written and directed by Gary Dauberman. I don't know, man. I don't know. Red Team go, Red Team go. But yes, I've been Jaime Fuego, and you can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, most notably. That's where I spend the predominance of my time. But I'm also a little bit on Insta, the Facebookies, and that's actually where where we have the Hail to Stephen King Facebook group, where anytime there's new King information, I try to post there as much as possible. We've got great peeps on there like Jose Storms and Andrew Thompson, and I mean, over 1,000 peeps on there. Lots who jump on and interact when they can. And yeah, man, it's been a blessing to have just the kef of all of those peeps on there. Also, yeah, YouTube, I've got lots of old personal videos on my Infuegotainment channel that there's still, I say it all the time, but I think September is probably, being the birthing month, the time when I need to start trying to cover some stuff separate from the scarific genre on there as well. But you guys know the drill, the liking, the sharing, the subscribing here, and it helps us keep the lights on, and it means a hell of a lot. And yeah, until next week, and when the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, everybody, hasta luego, sin amigos, constant readers and viewers alike, say thank you, hoping that we have been well met, and that we share more of this El Rey palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, remember to stay scared about the fate of this Salem's Lot film, but most notably, read Stephen King, because if you have not checked this book out, god damn, is it terrific. Terrific.